Hello, everyone. Yes, I will be Meera, and we'll start a conversation on how we can shift to traditional. Hi, hi there, Meera. I was just introducing, and yes, hello, everyone, and thanks for joining in. We are looking at how we can actually look at safer ways of cooking, the traditional ways of cooking in utensils that are safer and actually give us better taste, and also it's good for our health. And I would like Meera to introduce herself. Before that, it is a cold evening in Bangalore, and I was planning to be on the terrace, but it is freezing there. So the cozy kitchen that I am, and we're talking about the kitchen today. So yes, Meera, introduce yourself, and let's see, what kind of help that you can give us on all the different things that are available, and how we'd like to know more, because I do have some questions that I want to be answered. Many people ask me these questions, so I am at a loss to say, because I don't have a deeper understanding of all this. So please go ahead.
Sure. So, hi everyone, and hi Vaniji. Extremely happy to meet you here on the live. Just for everybody who's here to know, I'm one of the founders of Zishta. We are three co-founders. I'm one of the co-founder. Zishta started in July 2016 with the intention to revive traditions from wherever it originated. So that's where we started. We are three passionate people, highly passionate about what we're doing, and run behind the artisans, love to travel, talk to them, document all the knowledge. So that's what we are. And extremely happy that we would be able to talk about it and share information and knowledge out here. I actually wanted to take this from our Zishta office only. Then I realized I would be traveling back a little late, and it's really cold. I didn't have my jacket, so I said I'm just not going to take the chance, and came here and
Okay.
rushed back home to take the call. So yeah.
Okay, that's nice, and it's really a lot of people are looking at shifting, and there's so many questions. I have seen my granny use, I've seen my mother use, but somehow I just moved away from all that, and I was using Teflon, and the pans, the dosa pans and kadais, and when I realized that yes, these are not good in my kitchen, and I did make the shift with cast iron in the beginning, and then of course slowly got introduced to other things. My friend Meenakshi Arun, she's amazing
Yeah.
cook, and she cooks everything in traditional way. I mean, you must see her kitchen. She's just she's my hero that way. So I've been to her place. We as a team, we go there and we hang out in her lovely garden and home, and I have seen her cook, and I've always been tempted to buy, and she got me a few things from Chennai. And yes, so yeah, firstly we'll start off with the different materials that are available, that I am using, so that we
Yeah.
can related questions to that, about how to season it, or how safe it is, and how do you cook in it. So the first thing is the kalcheti. This is the soapstone. It's from Zishta that I got, and I have a bigger one that's a bit heavy. It's a large one, so I don't cook more than this nowadays, so I'm using this. So now, what is the benefit of cooking in kalcheti? This is soapstone. That's what you call, right? And
Right.
so what can be cooked, what shouldn't be cooked? So if you can give details, so that many people get to understand about
Yeah.
that itself. Yeah.
Sure. So soapstone, basically the advantage of not just soapstone, any other material, be it clay, be it Manipuri black pottery or soapstone, all the three of them, you can cook anything.
Okay.
So anything other, there are no restrictions. The restrictions are usually, restrictions come in when you're using a metal, be it
Okay.
bronze or iron or cast iron. When there's a metal involved, there are restrictions. When
Okay.
it's other, the very good news is that you can actually cook anything and everything in it. So
Okay.
that's point number one.
Okay.
So now, why soapstone? Multiple reasons. For example, I am accustomed to soapstone, even here chombu or whatever use, because my mother has been cooking in it. So I'm used to it already. But scientifically, soapstone is rich in calcium. So if
Oh.
you look at each of the materials, clay is rich in iron. Similarly, each metal, for example, brass has got zinc. Each metal is required for our body in certain quantity, in milligrams, in some quantity, which we get through plant-based food also, which we also get through when we cook in the right utensils. So it's a combination of both that we get. So it's very rich in calcium. That's number one. Number two, very important point, I'm just going to say in the order of importance, is it kills germs. So in the current situation, that's also important to know that soapstone kills harmful germs. So that's the second important thing that we should be aware of. The third thing is, of course, there is a lot of question in your handle that it takes long time to heat up, will it take long time to cook? So the third important thing is for people like me, I mean, who's been like in working for the last 25 years, this is my silver jubilee of work. And for me, who would not want to spend too much time and don't want to add the extra time to cook, soapstone cooks faster. 15% lesser time is what it takes in order to cook. You would know from your experience. I am saying the number because of Zista, we have actually sat and done that analysis to see versus the other vessels, how long does it take to cook. So it cooks your food evenly. When it cooks faster, what happens is that not just soapstone, but since the context is soapstone, it retains the minerals of whatever we cook. 97% of minerals. For example, you promote a lot of plant-based food. You promote a lot of growing yourself, making it healthy, etc. When you take that and put it in a soapstone, the effort that you have taken to grow it, to pluck it, and to have it fresh, you retain 97% of that effort. So it doesn't go wasted. So that's a very important thing in this context.
Oh, lovely. That's really, I mean, it makes you want to cook everything in that, because ultimately you want nourishment, and if all the minerals are intact, and that's really added bonus to have such material to be using. What about kind of course we are saving LPG, as you said. People are asking that question, do we use more gas and energy to cook? And your whatever experiments that you have done and whatever you have documented proves that, and that's great news. And how does one maintain this vessel? I mean, the seasoning part, and then how do you maintain it?
So let me put it this way. Most of them have an issue in terms of the cookwares require certain amount of seasoning before you use it. Each cookware varies. Soapstone is the only cookware that takes the longest to season. The reason is because it's a raw stone. When you take clay is baked at 900 to 1200 degrees centigrade. So it's already exposed to that level of heat. Soapstone is just a raw stone, mined, chiseled, and direct to your house. So the stone is not used to the heat of your stuff, your surroundings, your hand, your environment, etc. The reason to season soapstone is that you're slowly exposing the stone to the heat of the surrounding and your gas, etc. So that's the reason to do it. You have to do it slowly. Otherwise, it will crack. So it happens over a period of 10 to 12 days. The processes can vary. For example, the traditional processes, you take turmeric, castor oil, apply all around, leave it aside for a few days. Then you fill it with starch water and slowly in low flame, boil it for a few days and start using it. My mother, when she took one soapstone from here, she simply filled it with starch water for 25 days. She didn't do any of the processes that I'm talking here, and it works wonders. So that's her traditional knowledge that she has passed on. But when you do it that way, then you can't do direct tadka in it for a very long time. So when you do it the way where I'm saying with castor oil and turmeric, etc., then you can actually, after a few uses, you can put oil, you can tadka, you can fry onions, etc. When you do it my mother's way, then you can't do it for a very long time. You can do it, but at least for a few months you can't do it. So that is the difference. So seasoning for soapstone takes roughly around 10 to 12 days. So that is the process. Number two is after seasoning, when one starts using it. Yes, starch water, there's a question somebody's asking with starch water. Yes, you start with turmeric and castor oil. Castor oil is important. You leave it aside for 4 days. Just leave it in some corner in the kitchen. There are questions saying, do you have to keep it in sunlight? Bangalore doesn't have sunlight. New York doesn't have sunlight. No, you don't have to keep it in sunlight. Keep it in any corner of your kitchen or your house. That's absolutely fine. After 4 or 5 days, put starch water. What is starch water? You wash rice. Instead of throwing it, throw it in the soapstone. Or if you're not a rice eater, no problem. Just use rice powder. You use arrowroot powder. You can use maida powder. You can use any of that has got starch content in it. Fill it, mix it. Just keep it on the stove in low flame. Do it for 4 to 5 days and then start using it. That's it.
Wow. So you don't have to boil the rice to take out the starch water. It's just plain washed rice.
Just washed rice. That's all. You don't have to boil the rice to take out the starch.
That do we use the as the rice is boiling, that starch water do you take? Do you use that or
not necessarily at all? We just use the water when you wash the rice to clean it. Just throw that water into the culture tea. Next day morning, use ref. Again, do it process again. Many people think that you have to keep it aside. It will start smelling. It will create a very bad odor in the house. So keep filling it with fresh starch water every morning. That's it.
Okay.
It sounds like a long process, but you know, it's just you wash rice anyway in the morning. You throw it out. Just throw it in this. It's as simple as that.
Right. So I mean if you decide to buy that, we would do the process because I'm waiting to use it. So, you know, I had to do it first 4-5 days. I seasoned it, I boiled it so that, you know, I want to start a straight start because the larger one was very heavy and I don't want to lift weights now. So to start off with this, but then even if you wash, there is a smell of the sambar that comes. Do you remove it? Because in case, is it good for setting curds? I wanted to ask. And how do you remove the smell? Because I do get the sambar smell in spite of me washing it. If I have to cook something else, you know, will that smell transfer into the other dish?
Okay, just a couple of questions that came up on the this one itself, on the seasoning itself. Somebody was asking how long should you boil it? Keep it on the stove, keep it in low flame, the starch water. When you see the bubbles coming, when it's boiling, just switch it off. That's all. And leave it aside. Soapstone will be hot for 2 hours. So if you want to keep it out of the stove, definitely don't forget to use cloths to take it out of the stove. Okay, so that is one. The second one is in terms of the smell of the food. So there are 2 ways of it because it's slightly porous in nature. So if you wash it well, usually it will go off. If it still does not go off, just pour hot water into it. The same process applies for clay also because clay is also porous in nature. Just pour hot boiling water into it, leave it aside, and after an hour, throw the water, the smell will go off. That's the second one.
Fantastic.
Third one you said is that in terms of, what was the third question?
Setting curds, can we set curds?
Setting curd. Soapstone is beautiful. See, both soapstone and clay are fantastic to set curds. The problem with clay is fungus forms in clay. Over a few usages itself, fungus forms in clay, and that becomes quite irritating. When some fungus is forming, you know, you're not sure whether to use it, not to use it. Why is that green thing? How do you remove it? So soapstone sets curd. So I have in Bangalore, I have set curd in 3 hours 45 minutes. That's been my fastest setting of curd. Usually it's 4.5 to 5.5 hours, but one of the moments it was 3 hours 45 minutes. So that's also possible. You just have to increase the temperature of the milk when you pour into it. The curd is pretty thick. It forms very fast, and logic is very simple. The stone retains heat. When we set curd in stainless steel, correct. When you do the same warmth in stainless steel, in 15-20 minutes, the warmth of the milk goes away. In soapstone, it remains intact for 3 hours and simple, so curd gets set very fast. Right. Same thing in clay. One of the nice thing in clay is that the curd is also a little chill it's also got the coolness. Soapstone, it is not cool. So it is not cool. You can refrigerate it directly. After consuming, you can refrigerate it, take it out, no issues. But the chillness that you get in a clay, you will not get in soapstone. But then this is the difference. Both of them works well, just that the fungus difference is something not everybody is comfortable with.
So this also breaks when it's dropped? Will it break when it's dropped?
Except iron. Everything else will break, including cast iron. If you have a traditionally made cast iron kadai, traditionally it's sand casted. So if you have a sand casted traditional cast iron kadai, that will also break if dropped.
So you maybe to say if I drop my lodge, it will break?
Lodge will not break. The lodge will not break because the process of making is different. The process of making is not modernized, so it will not break that easily. If you use the way in India, the rural areas they make it, then it will crack.
Okay. So it all depends on what kind of cast iron that you're picking up.
How it is.
Many people keep saying, you know, it's very expensive and all. I think if you invest in a good, one time, a good material, even if it's expensive, it's worth it, I think, because there are a lot of things that are in the market which may not be expensive, but may not be the authentic one also. What do you think
Yeah.
about
So,
that?
no, two things, right? One is, for example, what my mother is using is what her mother gave her. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So one way to look at it, it just moves on from generation to generation, except
Right.
clay. Everything else can be used, passed on from generation to generation. So that is
Yes.
number one. So look at it that way. Okay.
Mhm.
Number two is definitely there is a difference when there is a process of making. Okay. There is a process of making when it is labor intensive. India, if you look at the traditional way of making things, it's highly labor intensive.
Okay.
It's you call it a shruti, right? It's
Yeah.
from the learning where their grandparents, their parents have told them. It's a shruti knowledge which is passed on. It's not a documented knowledge. So they
Right.
make exactly how the ancestors have made it,
Mm.
and so it's very labor intensive, and hence yes, there will be a difference in terms of that when you buy it from here. So yeah. And
Okay.
the thing is, you need to ensure the quality also. So from a Zista perspective, if you look at it, everything is tested in Zista.
Right.
So all the
Yeah.
products are tested in a European NABL accredited lab in Bangalore,
Right.
European
Right.
quality standards. I'm sorry,
Right.
and then it is tested for ROHs. It's called restriction of hazardous substances. It's tested for lead, cadmium, hexavalent chromium, nickel. So there are 5 metals. I'm forgetting the 5th one. There are 5 metals for which it is tested for contamination.
Okay.
If it is contaminated, then it does not go forward for launch. Logic
Okay.
was very simple. See, we are anyway using Teflon.
Mm.
Anyway, we are contaminating our system.
Yes.
So if we are doing something, the logic was don't create any further harm, which is already
Right.
there.
Right.
Either do good or just don't do anything rather than create any further harm. So that
True.
was the one. There was one question on Manipuri black pottery. Does it? Sorry.
We'll come to that. Yeah, we'll come to
Okay.
that.
So
Yeah.
no. Sorry.
So
On the culture tea, will it
okay.
work on induction?
Okay.
So if it's hot plates, it will work. If it is pure induction, the concept of induction, it works only on iron-based products. Stainless steel, iron, cast iron is what induction will work on. Hot plates, anything will work as long as you have a flat bottom, and culture tea has a flat bottom.
Flat bottom, right. So
Yeah.
we'll move to the next material, that's bronze,
Sure.
brass, and I have been always confused between bronze and brass. I know one is heavy and the other is light, but I wouldn't know which is what. And about that, the kalai, because I've had my traditional bronze one. I've been using it as a planter because I'm not very sure if the kalai is gone or what. So I like me, many people would want to know. So I have used this from from G-Star, and I'm just loving it because I know it's safe, because you said there is kalai in this. So it just give us the difference between a brass, bronze, and what is copper, what are what kind of alloys they are, and what can be cooked and what can't be cooked. So if you can just break that up for us, I think it'll be more comfortable using these materials. Yeah,
I'll do that. First line, I will give chemistry. So copper is a metal.
right.
Brass is an alloy of copper and zinc. Bronze is an alloy of copper and tin. So copper is a base metal for both brass and bronze. Just that in bronze it is tin, in brass it is zinc. Why is this difference important? Is because the reason in bronze you can cook anything without kalai, except for the tamarind based food, is because it's already got tin content in it.
Okay.
Brass does not have tin content. Kalai is nothing but the tin. The chombu that we use for rasam, the kalai is the same. It's the tin in which the lining is done.
Okay.
So the lining is done to prevent the acidic reaction with copper. So because brass and bronze have copper in it, you don't want the copper to react with the acidic properties, and hence you do not want to have any impact of it. So that is the reason for kalai. Brass, because it is brass, it's copper and zinc. To cook anything, ideally you should have a kalai inside it. Brass. Brass is lightweight, as you've said, and the one you're using for planter, it's called Velloder. It's a very
what's it called?
It's a very Velloder. It's a very traditional form of what you have. We don't get it.
I didn't know at all, so I just pulled it out from somewhere, and I have been using it as a planter.
Please go ahead and use it because it's very difficult to get that.
I don't know.
It's bronze.
It's bronze.
It's bronze. So unless if you don't make anything tamarind with it and just just cook everything, or your upmas to
Wow.
pongal, or your kootu, aviyal. You
So
can
as
cook
long as there
anything in
is
that.
no sour in it, I can
No
cook
sour in
anything.
it.
Oh, great.
Exactly.
Great.
Yeah.
Now the
Somebody
planter
was
goes
asking
out
what is
and then
citric.
this goes in.
I would love to see more videos of you using that, because, frankly speaking, when you sent me that one, it was very emotional to see it. I have seen very, very few families still have it. Somebody who's not yet disposed of. I saw this in one of the houses in a place called Kallakurchi. She's a
Okay.
famous YouTuber, a very senior citizen.
Yeah.
She had it. So it's a very rare sight. So please use it for cooking and don't use it as a planter.
Okay.
So that's on brass, bronze, and copper. That's the basic chemistry of brass, bronze, and copper.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
but
Okay.
there are questions, because I spoke about tin and kalai. There are a lot of questions coming there as well.
So when we do
Kalai
the
is nothing.
Iyachumbu, we'll talk about the Vella or Vella
Yes,
the white, the tin
Veldiyam
and
and Kariyam. Correct,
yeah, yeah.
correct, correct. So
So
you can so bronze and brass, as I said, bronze you can cook anything without kalai unless you add tamarind.
okay.
Brass, please, there should be a layer of kalai to cook anything in brass. So that is a basic thumb rule that we need to follow.
Okay.
Brass can be used for, brass is a very good metal for storing food grains.
Okay.
So, for example, our spices, that masala dabba,
Right.
for storing any kind of food grain, be it your rice or the chapati flour or anything, brass is very good. Ghee, the reason is zinc. The property of zinc is it's got antioxidant properties.
Okay.
Most of our spices and our food grains are rich in antioxidants. So what
Okay.
zinc does is it preserves it, the antioxidants.
Oh,
So
wow.
second thing is zinc ensures that it's longer, it stays fresh. Whatever you store in it stays fresh for a longer time versus any other material. So that's
Okay.
about, and of course it doesn't harm you. So
So,
that's
so
the
how
other.
long does this kalai stay? And like, if suppose the kalai is gone, where do like Bangalore or Bombay or Delhi, people who are living in cities, or where do they
Yeah.
go to get it done? I mean, to redo the coating. Yeah.
So my mother tells me, okay, so because I have used it only in the last 2 years, my kalai is intact. So my mother tells me that the kalai will last anywhere from 3 to 5 years. Okay.
Okay.
Usually it's fag end of fourth or fifth year is when it goes away completely, and when you have to do the retaining. So that is one. That's a knowledge which I was asking her, because my kalai is still intact. So how does
Okay.
it work? In her village, usually around 4 to 5 years, the kalai wala comes and they do it. The second one is, where do you actually go and do the kalai? Many of the tier 2 towns still have kalaiwalas. In Bangalore, I understand. I've heard from a customer that there is a store in Jayanagar who does it, called Sarathi Stores. You've heard
Okay.
about that. Right now, because it's a process. I mean, I cannot just go and do it in Zista premises. You need a proper. It's you have to do the process. We cannot do it here.
Okay.
Right now, if you can find anyone locally, you can read in it.
Okay.
We will also see over a period of time, is there something we can find out to develop in different cities, so that it's much, at least we can start passing on the contacts and keeping that
Exactly.
intact.
Exactly. So
So
that
yeah,
people start pulling out their handed down good material to start cooking at home, because that's
correct.
one they want to use, if they want to use. Yeah.
Right,
So
right.
now it's like another favorite of mine. This is the Iyachumbu. This Meenakshi, when she went to Chennai, she got it for me. And yes, Iyachumbu, rasam in it all my life. Before I got married and came, I have had rasam. My mother always had. We had a big one, and we used to make a lot of rasam. Every day rasam is a must, and rasam was cooked in Iyachumbu. We just give us the difference between what is that the black tin and the white tin, and how safe is it? Does it need seasoning? How do we maintain it? Because
Sure.
high heat. I had another one which got a hole because it got cooked with very little water, and it just
It just
it melted. So if you can just let us know about the Iyachumbu.
Sure, sure, sure. So Iyachumbu, as you said, it's very traditional in many of the southern part of the homes, right? And especially to make rasam. Iyachumbu, you can make rasam. You can set curd. Curd gets a little sweetish taste when you set curd in Iyachumbu. So these are the two things. Some people make payasam. I am very scared to do it because it's too expensive a metal to melt it. So, so yeah, I don't want to experiment with all that. So there is, what happened was, Iya Chomba is made of tin. Originally, it's a tin, and tin is a metal on its own. So that is what Iya Chomba is. Now, what happened over a period of time is that in Tamil, Iyam is a little generic word because it can be used for lead or tin. So Velliyam, which is called white Iyam, is tin, and Kariyam, which is a little more darker Iyam, is called lead. Over a period of time, there were two issues that happened. One is people got confused with the words, and number two is tin is expensive. It's traded in the market like gold and silver. Tin is expensive. So to reduce the cost, there was also a contamination in terms of some amount of lead being mixed in it. And that is where suddenly something which was so important for us went away, and many people thought it is harmful and stopped using it. Sadly, because we don't think there was any contamination done. If it is an Iya Chomba which was at least 40 years old, even they stopped using it. If in anybody's house, if you have a Iya Chomba which is like 30, 40 years old, my recommendation is just go ahead, wash it and start using it. That is number one. The other thing is, so what we do is we test the Iya Chomba for any contamination, because we have tested almost 3 or 4 varieties. Only 2 qualified the test, the other 2 did not. So it's important that you know that the tin is pure. Visually it's a little difficult to understand. You will understand it when it becomes darker. Iya Chomba inside will become black. But what you will see as a difference is it's a little pure EM. Then what you will do is, when you wash it well with a scrubber, the black, lot of the black, 70% of it will go away. However old it is.
For me.
So if you wash it well, if there is lead in it, how much ever you wash, it will not go away. So that is one way. There is a test. One of the techniques. The other one is, you can actually scratch it and find it. But when you buy a new vessel, even in Zista, I'm not gonna allow you to scratch the vessel. So it's a little difficult to find which is pure quality and which is not pure quality. Another important one for everyone to know is that there should be at least 1/4 liquid in Iya Chomba before you even keep it on the stuff. Otherwise, it would melt. It would melt. I mean, in 5 seconds, it's a nice big hole and molten tin on your kitchen.
On the stove.
That's the other one. Exactly. But it's what we heard, and I'm going to share this information. We were in Bangalore, we were participating in an event, and an oncologist came and met us, and this was very early stages of starting Zista, and she asked us, it was like a quiz. She said, tell me why tin? So we had some knowledge. So we were saying that, okay, it's good for your kappa. When you have cough and cold, doing pepper rasam in tin is very good. The reaction is good, supposed to be good. It is also supposed to be preventing diabetes. From Ayurveda perspective, it is said that tin bhaspa is given from a diabetes perspective. Okay, so there are certain advantages there. But when she questioned us continuously, and then she gave us information that I believe from her perspective, it helps in good blood circulation. Okay, so that's the other advantage that we learned from her through the event. So yeah, there is an advantage, and another biggest advantage is rasam is done in 10 minutes. You will know that, right?
Yes, and it's absolutely delicious. Yeah, there's a huge difference between doing it in the Iya Chomba and in any regular steel patre that we use. Yeah, so yeah,
the taste is different. See, any vessel lends its properties, its chemicals, its taste into the food. So any vessel, be it stainless steel or copper or zinc, anything we use, bronze or anything, cast iron, whatever the chemicals composition is, that will leach into the food, and it will also react. So it depends on, is it good or bad? That's about it. So leaching is unavoidable. Is the leaching good or bad?
If it's beneficial for you, I mean, it's good. So, but so there are some toxins that could be there, which may not be good for you. Yeah, so we have to avoid. Great. I mean, so you said Iya Chomba, we can also set curds, right?
We can set curds. As I said, people have done payasam, kheer in it. I will
You
not
haven't.
experiment with all that. You never know if it will create a hole in the bottom and then it's completely
Yeah, you
gone.
lost your
So
nichum. So yeah, the next
yeah,
one, I mean, this from Zista
black pottery,
again,
Manipur.
the black Manipuri pottery. I'm just loving it. Only thing is, I'm afraid I will drop it, or I know I will hit it against that. That's the only. I think all clay and this will have the same issue, that we have to be extremely careful where we keep it. I put it up on
Correct.
the fridge so that nobody knocks it off. I'm very scared because it's such a beautiful piece.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I wish to keep it forever, not lose it by breaking it. So
Yes.
what's the difference between this and clay? And what are the benefits, and how can we use it? Do we need to season it? I mean, if you can say all that, we can. I mean, many would
Sure,
benefit
sure.
from it.
Sure. So this is from Manipur. So we call it as Manipuri black pottery. In their local languages, they call it Nongpi Chapu. Okay, so that's what it is.
Hmm.
The reason it's from Manipur, most of these vessels, if you look at it, it's got to do with the raw material available locally. Soapstone is available locally in southern part of the country. So that is why more of southern part of the country uses soapstone versus northern part. Soapstone is very common even in South America. So if you look for soapstone vessels, it's very common there. So similarly, Manipur, there are two rocks in which is found, which is in Manipur. It's called serpentinite rock and weathered rock. That's locally available there in one of the districts in Manipur, Ukhrul region. What they do is they take the rocks, they hand pound it with bamboo, and they make it into a fine powder. After they make it into fine powder, they mix it. They make like a chapati dough.
Okay.
Then they lay it, use bamboo sticks to make it like a lay it and make it flat. Then make the shape and they bake it at 1200 degrees centigrade. Okay. So now the confusion is it a clay or is it a stone? The
Right.
properties of Manipuri black pottery is stone because you get it from stones. So it's very similar to the soapstone. It
Okay.
kills germs. It retains heat, exactly like the way soapstone retains. After you take it out, it keeps boiling. It is put as warm for at least another 1.5 to 2 hours easily.
Yes. Yes,
So
it is.
the properties are that of a stone. Though it's called a pottery because you powder it and make a clay out of it, but it's called a pottery. The difference is soapstone is rich in calcium. This one is rich in iron. Manipuri black pottery is rich in iron. Locally in Manipur, pregnant women, for when they give food to pregnant women, it's cooked in Manipuri in this black pottery. Probably, and they say that it avoids morning sickness. Number one, and my assumption is also because it's rich in iron. So we all take tablets, right? Those iron
Yes.
tablets that any of the women who's pregnant would take. Probably this automatically gives good old days. We did when the concept of iron tablets probably didn't exist. This
Yes.
is what was giving the iron content to the body, additionally to whatever they were consuming.
Right.
So that's something which is very local. That pregnant women, for pregnant women, they cook in this one. So that's a exclusive thing. All other properties of soapstone remains for Manipuri black pottery as well.
Okay. Okay. That's
And,
great.
and
So
taste is good. So I have a great
uh,
friend, and she's also a customer of ours. Her name is Vasudha. Uh, she loves cooking in Manipuri black pottery. She makes regular kanji, right? That sattumavu kanji she makes in the black pottery.
okay.
She made the same thing in her mother's house in Chennai in stainless steel, and then she called me and she said, "You know what? Till date, I didn't realize that there is such a huge taste difference. The same powder, so it's
Right.
not like there was a powder. It's the same brand, same powder. Everything is the same, but the experience of the taste varied big time. So,
Yes. Yes.
so all of these render that kind of a taste for sure.
Yeah, my friend, she's in Bombay, but she comes from Assam. And when I put this post about this Manipuri pottery, she said, I have been cooking for such a long time in that. And I mean, she knows because it's closer to Assam and they know their,
Correct.
they understand that better. And nothing was more, testimonial for me than she saying that it is
Saying it from
amazing.
there.
Yeah, so that was great. Thanks, Noi, for that. Yeah. So now, how does one transition from now there are people who want to, but how easy is it? Is it very expensive to move from whatever you're used to and then shift? Do we shift all of a sudden, or do we take it one by one? what are the first things that you introduce into your kitchen when you're not having any of these? So if you could give some kind of tips on that.
Sure. So what happens is many people usually think that when you want to move into a healthy kitchen, you just want to go ahead and load it with iron and cast iron. Okay. So the first thing is, yes, iron, cast iron becomes a natural transition. But do not load your kitchen with that, because you don't want so much of iron consumption into your body as well. At some point, we will all suffer from constipation if you're cooking everything in iron. So, so you also want to balance out.
Oh, so you mean to say you shouldn't be cooking all your stuff in cast iron?
Because not every day, all the 3 times a day, all your stuff, if you're cooking in cast iron and iron.
Okay.
Simple, right? What will happen is every time you cook, there is an iron that gets leached into the food. So 3 times a day, if you're making 2 food, which is like six kind of food you're consuming, there is so much of iron you're consuming into your body. So what will happen is that's an excess iron. We don't need so much iron into our body.
Okay, so, because I do dosas in the morning on a cast iron pan, and I would do some sabji in the afternoon. So that's okay, like using twice. Would that be okay?
Yeah, no, absolutely fine. All I'm saying is, I've seen your kitchen, so there is a lot of varieties that you have, right? You don't. All I'm saying is, don't make your sambar, your rasam, your dosa, your upma, everything in iron, because then all you're doing is overloading your system with iron. So just balance it out. I mean, have an iron, have something else. So if somebody's planning to transition, first thing look at it is, what is it that you cook the most? For example, if I take my house, it's dosa is like a staple diet in the house. Right? So number 1 is dosa. Number 2, what do? We do sambar, varieties of sambar, right? Sambar, vattakurambu, any type, avial. Okay, and even if it's not the South Indian type of it, it's your paneer butter masala. What do my daughter consume? It's all paneer. Paneer is what she's a fan of. So if dal, wheat your dal tadka or rajma. So that's the predominant cooking that happens in my house. So if you look at that, then what do I need specifically? If I have to change my kitchen, I will need an iron dosa tawa, and I will need a soapstone, and as a backup, I will have a clay. That's all I need. 80% of my cooking is taken care of. The remaining 20% of a cooking, for example, I make appam, say once in a month. I need the appam pan, but that's not my priority. You may change it once you're comfortable with this kitchen, with your 3 or 4 new gadgets, so-called the kitchen gadgets. Move to your next one, which is your remaining 20% of your cooking, a little slowly, because it should not become a shocker as well, because these are heavy. So first thing is, we are all used to stainless steel and non-stick, which are lighter in weight. Number 2 is, if you're using non-stick, then from day 1, food does not get stick. Day 1 food does not get stuck, right? But when you use a traditional cookware, it takes time. Over a period of time, it behaves like a non-stick. So it takes some time for it to get adjusted. So it will take time for you also to get adjusted to that kind of a concept. So transition into a 3, which is your predominant type of cooking, and then add the remaining as you feel comfortable. Because if I'm making appam once in a month, I'm not in a rush to move from a non-stick to a cast iron. I can do it slowly. After maybe 6 months, I can move it. So that will help in making a decision.
Very true. Very true. So many people have asked me that cast iron. How do you prevent it from sticking? How do you season it? Because I don't know, luckily I have seasoned it so well that it's never, even I do rava dosa with very minimal oil, it doesn't really stick. So any tips for people who are using cast iron for the first time, how they can, keep it well seasoned, why they shouldn't wash off the, seasoning, if they scrub some chemicals on it and, remove the seasoning, the oil in it, then it starts to stick. So if you can give some tips on that.
Sure. So the most common way of seasoning is using onion. So take it, keep the cast iron kadai, tawa, whatever is iron or cast iron on the stuff. Pour some oil, cooking oil, once it's hot. Usually the shallots, the small onions, if not the large onions, just cut it in any rough shape. In low flame, nicely fry it all around, 2 to 3 minutes, and then just throw it. There are people who don't use onion. If you don't use onion, no problem, use rock salt. So
Okay.
use the same oil and use rock salt and actually, nicely rub it all around it. It will get seasoned. So that is number one. And other reason is that cast iron process, the finishing process has carbon deposits. So there will be these black particles that will come out of it. So the
Yes.
seasoning also helps in in removing the black particles. So that's one. So this is all is needed to season. There is nothing major when it comes to cast iron. That's all is the process to season it. It gets seasoned as you keep using it. Two,
Right.
three
And
times of
also,
usage, you will see that it comes faster.
yeah. And also when after washing, if you don't remove the moisture, it tends to it starts to kind of what do you call that?
Rust.
Rust. Yeah, it starts to rust. So it's best is to wipe it off with a cloth as soon as you finish washing it. That's what I have noticed, that I can never leave it wet because next
Yeah.
morning I'll see the rust on it. Yeah. Yeah.
So I am. So here I'm going to say two things. Okay, I'm going to answer as Zishta and I'm going to answer as Meera. Okay.
Okay.
To answer as Zishta, yes, wash it, wipe it dry, and even if required, apply a coating of oil and leave it because there is a tendency. See, iron, the tendency of iron is to rust. So, if
Yes.
anybody says my iron should not rust, then it's not iron. Iron will oxidize, it reacts with oxygen, it will rust. That's a process. That's nature. So, it will rust. So, do the process this way. This is answering as Zishta because not every. So, if I give the other answer, which I'll give as Meera and not as Zishta. So, there's a disclaimer there. I have my dosa tawa. I have never done this process. Okay, I leave it in the sink also. It does not. There is a slight rust. You wipe it off and it goes away. It's not a major thing. And as you keep using it, the bottom side will rust, not
Yeah,
the side
bottom
that
side.
you use. Exactly,
Exactly.
the side
Yes,
that you
that's what
use
I
will
noticed. The
stop
bottom
rusting.
side rusts at the bottom.
Exactly, the bottom side will rust, and I have no issues with the bottom side rusting
Right.
because
Okay.
side of cooking does not rust. So
Oh,
I have never wiped it dry, or
okay.
neither have I applied oil and left it. But that is Meera speaking. As I said, from Zishta, if I have to advise, do it because what happens is, as a business, what happens is that people get very upset that it is rusting.
Right.
So this is a precaution in case you're one of those people who does not prefer even the bottom side rusting, the top side rusting. Just apply oil and leave it, and do
Right.
not keep it wet. Like you absolutely said, you do not keep it wet. Dry it out, and in humid conditions, the rusting will be a little more. So
Okay.
definitely do not keep it wet
Yeah.
that way. It will rust a little more. Rainy seasons, etc. There will be the chances of rusting is higher. But it's okay.
Okay.
Rusting is natural. Wash it. If it's still not going, just pour some oil, apply some oil, let the fumes come in, switch it off, and then the rust would go away. It's a surface
Okay.
rusting. So
Okay.
that's not an issue.
Before we lose out time, I want you to tell us about Zista and where is your retail store, and do you ship on order across, or only you cater to Bangalore people? Or just give us a little more about that.
Okay, so we are based in Bangalore. We are available online, Zishta, Zishta, Zishta.com. So anybody can order. There was somebody who said, but I'm in UK. So you're in UK, you are in Germany, you are in US, Singapore, doesn't matter. Or anywhere in India, nook and corner of the world, nook and corner of the country, the products are shipped everywhere. So that's one. Second is because we are based in Bangalore, we do have a retail store in JP Nagar second phase. You can look us up on the website. You can Google for it. We are on Google Maps. So we do have a store. Our concept, we didn't start as a store, but because many people want to touch and feel it, we actually have started a store so that more than touch and feel, the people who come and visit us are interested in what you and I are discussing. So
Right.
basically, want to know more, want to understand more, want to get a better perspective of it. So there are people who want to do that and spend time with us and come and then buy in person. We have a nice, beautiful store. Because of COVID, we moved into a larger place. We didn't want to crowd people into a smaller place. So we moved into a nice, beautiful place. So most welcome. We are three founders, very happy to sit and share our knowledge. We three can go talk. We can talk non-stop like I'm doing right now with you. So we can just keep doing it. So visit us anytime.
Yeah.
So that's Zishta. Zishta basically, somebody was asking what is Zishta. We derived it
What
from.
does it mean? Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a tweak of a Sanskrit word which meant traditional roots. We just added some zing to it and made it Zishta. But basically, our base is traditional roots. That's what we want to do. So if anyone wants to come, would be happy to explain, because all our products, we travel. So everywhere we travel. So be it Manipur or be it Orissa, Kutch, Tamil Nadu, anywhere you look at the products, we have traveled everywhere. We just love traveling, and we've been traveling, and we spend time, we are there, we work with them, we bring it back. Today I'm very uncomfortable using the word artisans because it's so cliche. Everybody says artisans. So, but yeah, these are those people whose generations, at least every craft, minimum 7 generations, we have been able to trace it. The Orissa Kansa, their generation started, their ancestors were part of building Puri Jagannath temple. The work we do in Maharashtra for copper and brass, the community was set up in 5th century, made popular by King Shivaji in the 500-600 years back. So each community is rich in knowledge, rich in traditions, and we just love their stories. So all this, you can of course, get it from us if you're visiting us for sure.
Yeah, that's amazing. And secondly, what made me very comfortable with, wanting to have your product is that you are testing the products for quality. That's something that, because most of us are afraid, we don't have knowledge about it. You have not just acquired the knowledge, but you make sure that they are tested and they are safe for use. So yeah, that makes us comfortable, wanting to take. So do you want to take some questions before we end? Because I think there are many questions that you can scroll.
There were a lot of questions. Whatever, when I was talking, I observed.
Sure,
somebody had asked, Manipuri black pottery, does it need seasoning? It does not need seasoning. Kalchatti is the only one which needs seasoning. Cast iron, because you want to remove the black particles, you just need to do the onion frying. You do not need seasoning for any other vessel. But any traditional vessel, first 3 to 4 times, please make gravy in it. Standard. For example, I just got this to show. This is a nice, beautiful bronze kadai. In Malayalam, it's called Cheena Chatti. Okay, and I just love this. This is a very cute small one, so I wanted it specifically for me. But even in this one, just make gravy the first 2-3 times, because it gets used to your feel, touch, your stuff, everything before you do any direct tadka in it. So that is a standard thumb rule for any traditional cookware. Just blindly follow it. So that is number 1 for the question which was on that one. Somebody asked, have you been to Madhya Pradesh? No, we work in 10 states right now. This year it was supposed to be Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. Unfortunately, we have not been able to travel this year. By God's grace, we will start traveling from January, and we will take necessary precautions, and we would love to bring the craft of Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. We have to travel, so we bring in 2 to 3 states every year. That's how we strive to do. Hopefully, we will do it next year for sure. Can we ship to Canada? Yes, we can ship to Canada. Can we get Cheena Chatti? Yes, whatever, all the products are available in our website. You can definitely do it. You can deep fry in Manipuri pots, not an issue at all. Soapstone requires 50 seconds more heating time. Okay, so if you look at it, if you say, does it heat longer, take long? Yeah, definitely 50 seconds more than your stainless steel. How long does it take to cook? I will tell you. Sambar, if I cook in 35 minutes in my regular vessel, I take less than 25 minutes in culture. So that is the time taken. So the 50 seconds compensates in 10 minutes. So not to worry about it.
That's what even Meenakshi Arun is saying. She's been going through the questions, and she says many are asking about the LPG use. You already told it, but you please tell again that, are we using more energy?
It's a genuine concern.
Yeah.
It's a genuine concern because you look at it, it's heavy. And because you don't cook any of the traditional cookware, you don't use high heat. You usually use medium heat. So LPG consumption will not go up. My gas, my LPG has been coming for, at least I have seen 10 to 11 days longer time it's been coming since I've started using these vessels. Primary reason is it cooks faster. Okay, it cooks evenly, it cooks faster. And that is one of the best reasons for this. So don't worry about LPG. It will not consume faster, and I've been doing it for 4 years, and quite comfortably I can say what I am saying. Beginners combo, any combo, my suggestion is think of what you want. Happy to help you. Give us a call. Because I said, for example, dosa is a staple diet of my house. Maybe poha and upma is staple diet of somebody else's house. Then you might want to probably look at a kadai and not the way I'm looking at a tawa. So depends on what you look at. So soapstone and kal in Telugu is, I don't know, kalmarge is Kannada, is it? Rachipa, if I'm not wrong. Somebody was asking what is it. Rachipa is what it's called in Telugu. So I'm just quickly answering. Can it be used on chulha? Of course, everything can be used on chulha because that's how it started. Yeah. So any other questions? I'm so sorry, yeah, because it's moving so fast. There's a tiny strip at the bottom where I'm seeing the questions, so
Yeah.
not able to see everything at this time.
So
Anything
suggest
else you
if
think?
we could order from Amazon or your website, they're asking.
It's up to you. It doesn't matter. You can order on Amazon. You can directly order with us also. It's as long as you see Zista as the brand and Amazon, and you want to order from Zista, go ahead and do it.
People are liking the way you explain things. So you are amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks. Many
Yeah,
thanks
because
because
they find it very informative, and they were asking me to save this. Of course, it will be saved. The live will be saved on the IGTV. Yes. So pretty much, I think we have covered. After making dosa and paratha with oil, even after a good wash, there remains a slight coating of oil sediment. Why and how do we do a squeaky cleaning?
In the tawa, is it?
It looks like so dosa, of course, tawa, dosa and paratha. So
see, when you make dosas or parathas, over a period of time, your edges all get those rough things. Okay.
Yes.
So yes. I'm saying practically, what do? I use a nice knife and I completely remove the edges and wash it thoroughly. What will happen when you do that? When you do this kind of a thorough washing, your dosas will get stuck. If you're making parathas, wonderful, nothing happens. Just start using it. If you're a dosa person like me, your dosas will get stuck. There are two ways of doing it. Apply oil and leave it. So I use a nice knife and I completely scrub it out, wash it out. If you do not want your dosas to get stuck, apply a layer of oil and leave it. Okay. I don't do that because I'm uncomfortable with the dust. I mean, it's just that psychologically I'm not comfortable using oil and storing my tawa. So I go through the difficult process. What happens the next day when I'm keeping the tawa on the stuff? Then I use onion. My first dosa will get stuck. I will get irritated with the tawa, and the next dosa will come out properly. That's all.
Right.
It's just that momentary irritation.
The person who is eating second will always get fantastic dosas. Because the first one you're struggling, it breaks and it may not come out. But the person who's eating second is always the best dosas come out. Yeah.
No, when I make the first dosa, after thoroughly cleaning it, the first dosa will come in pieces, right?
Yes.
So my father loves it. So my father says that it's okay. Anyway, my daughter is so sweet. She doesn't want her father to take the efforts to, give them in pieces. So I'll have it. So basically, if you wash it thoroughly, the dosa will get stuck. Okay, if you leave it with oil or apply oil. Brass, somebody had said that you have to use kalai in brass. That's the safest to do. You can make sweets without milk in brass, but technically brass, better to be safe than sorry, use kalai in brass. That's the right thing to do.
Okay.
So that's one question I saw as it was scrolling up. Eggs, can you make eggs in cast iron? Absolutely yes. I am a vegetarian, but I have friends who have eggs, and I have seen them use cast iron beautifully for eggs. We have got so many people have shared images with us, and yes, you can definitely do it. Cast iron pan becomes not over a period of time. It behaves like a non-stick. Okay, it's closest to the non-stick it can get. So those anything else, Vaniji, you see in your screen that I am missing out?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I also haven't been catching much of the. There are so many messages.
So fast.
I don't know. Do you ship clay products to Mumbai?
Yeah. As I said, we ship any of that is in our store. We can ship it anywhere in India, across globally as well. We ship clay to international locations. We generally recommend international people not to go for clay, not because of anything. The lifetime of clay is around 1.5 to 2 years. You have to change it. They traditionally during Bogi, a day before Pongal, they break the old clay pots and use new clay pots because the properties of clay goes away. Clay is not harmful. What happens is clay renders certain properties and nutrients to you. Around 1.5 to 2 years, it goes away. Okay. So usually you're supposed to change clay. So internationally, because the shipping costs are higher versus India, we recommend people who are buying from international not to go for clay, but to go for others because it will last longer. While clay is only for 1.5 years, why spend that kind of a cost when you you got to use it for 1.5 years?
There is this question always going forward is asking, if we cook normal food using tamarind, kokum, and copper and brass without kalai, and then transfer immediately to another vessel, is that okay?
Ideally, no, because you have copper, right? So copper will react with acidic food. Ideally, no. In fact, even when you cook non-acidic food in brass, even with kalai, okay, let me put it this way. Even after applying kalai, when you cook acidic food, you are supposed to transfer it into a different vessel.
Okay.
Somebody had asked saying zinc, copper and zinc is brass, copper and tin is bronze.
Okay.
Best material to cook rice. Rice you can cook in both clay and bronze. Bronze, both of them are wonderful. You can either or.
Fantastic. We have only 2 minutes, and I don't want to lose this. I will save it on IGTV so that we can pass this session. Thank you so much, Meera, for giving so much of information and making it easier for us to look at shifting, because I'm excited about moving to more traditional. I've seen my friend Meenakshi, and I always want to cook like her. And now I feel safe. I know that what I can buy from you or from people who give that kind of authentic material easy. And thank you so much. And I'm sure we've had 200 plus all the time. I'm glad so many people are able to get some value from this session. And thank you so much for being, and I hope I will come and visit your store very soon. I would love to come and check out what else you have. Yes. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you so much to you, and thank you so much to everyone who participated. It's not easy to sit through for 1 hour, and a lot of questions. If anything went unanswered, don't worry. I will, whatever I can, I will definitely answer it so that it's available for everybody to watch later on. So sorry, but it's been scrolling so fast. So
I know. Thank you, especially Meenakshi Arun. She's been answering questions because according to me, she's an expert here. So thanks so much, Meenakshi. All the best.
Lovely meeting you and everybody here. Thank you, and have a very nice day.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah.